3 years. He was also the Salesperson of the Year in 2012. With over 8 years of retail experience in the industry, James is going to present 10 steps to a car sale. Please join me in welcoming James Campbell.
Thank you, Sean, for that warm welcome. And good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. I want to go back in time a little bit to the year 2002. I was 21 years old, just starting my summer break from the University of Kansas. My stepfather was a general manager at Jack Miller Subaru in Olathe, and he was recruiting me hard to come sell cars with him. Now, Matt was a natural-born salesperson. Matt's father once told me Matt would sell candy to the druggies in his high school. Surprised, I looked at his father, said, "How do you feel about your son being a drug dealer?" His father looked at me and said, "James, Matt never did drugs. Matt was never a drug dealer. He was just a natural-born salesperson, and even at the age of 17, saw an opportunity to sell candy bars to the stoners in the hallway." Now, I never viewed myself as a salesperson. I thought I was more of an artistic type. And Matt worked on me really, really hard to come sell cars. Every reason that I could think of not to do it, he had a reason that I could do it. And I remember one day Matt told me, "James, to sell a car, it's this simple. You just have to be yourself. You just have to follow the 10 steps to a sale." Well, that finally got me to say yes. And only a couple days later, I took my first lot up. So for those of you that don't know what a lot up is, it's just car slang for a fresh customer on the lot. Now, working through the steps with Matt and his leadership, I learned how valuable following each one of the steps was in the sales process to selling a vehicle. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you this morning is, despite all the technology and advances that we've had since 2002, the 10 steps to a car sale are every bit as relevant in 2013. Now, I want to go ahead and ask everybody a question. Can I see a show of hands of anybody that's bought a car from a car dealership? I was expecting everybody to raise their hand, but that's okay. Now, I want you to raise your hand if you bought a car from a dealership without ever stepping foot inside the dealership. You did the whole transaction online. One person, that's what I thought. It's very rare that we don't go through these steps, one way or another. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start off. Let's get into the steps. Step 1, meet and greet. Seems simple enough. It's the first step of any sales process. Now, I really struggled with this step from the get-go. It seems simple, but no matter right or wrong, when we open our mouths, people form opinions, people form judgments, so it's important to nail the meet and greet. The thing I got sick of very quickly was the meet and greet. I simply would say, "How can I help you?" I quickly found out that was the wrong question to ask because everybody's response was, "I'm just looking." I had to get creative and figure out a way to get my first yes in the first step of the process. Now, how I did this was I figured I'd take the words right out of their mouth. So I got clever. One day I took it up and I said, "Hi, I'm James Campbell. Welcome to Jack Miller Subaru. Are you here to do some looking around?" That worked almost all the time, and it helped me get on to the next step. Step number 2, fact finding. As salespeople, we all know this is an important step. It's also known as qualifying. Now, this step too, I had to progress and learn how to do it right. I was young, I was eager to get onto the test drive, onto the next step, so I didn't do a good enough job at first in asking the right questions. What I learned was to ask the right question when you're qualifying, you want to ask yes or no questions. Or you don't want to ask yes or no questions, you want to ask open-ended questions. Shut your mouth and listen. For instance, you couldn't just come out of the gate and say, Aaron, how much money do you make? How long have you been on your job? So a good question I found to qualify a prospect and know where I could take the sale was I simply said, Aaron, do you work around here? And I shut my mouth. Depending upon the response you got, you knew where to take your sale. If the response was, I work at the Federal Aviation Building down the street and I have for 20 years, I knew that customer probably could buy anything on the lot. If the answer to the question was, James, I work at McDonald's, just started last week, I want to buy my first car. I knew I probably needed a co-buyer, and I probably shouldn't go too much further along unless that person had a co-buyer. So the key, like I said, was just asking good opening questions, being a good listener. On to step 3. This is one of the easier steps. Most people have some kind of clue why they're there, some kind of purpose, car in mind. So the third step is select vehicle. Now once you selected the vehicle, you're on to step 4. Demo, walk around, presentation. Now this is a step that we follow in every sales process, the value building. With a car, you want to give a good walk around. In my mind, if I was selling a $20,000 car, I wanted to build $30,000 of value. I had my route all planned, nice little lake. I take the Subaru to do my walk around. And there's a famous term in the car business for the walk around called FAB. FAB means feature, advantage, benefit. During your walk around, you want to demonstrate each feature, each advantage, and each benefit. Now once you're through with the walk around, I got clever. I wanted to figure out something else that engaged my customer before I got back to the lot. Something to enhance the experience. Subaru customers were big on safety. So I got clever and I found a little gravel lot about a mile from the dealership. Right before we get back to the dealership, I'd ask the customer to pull off to the side on this gravel lot. I'd switch them out. I told him I was going to show him a demonstration on how safe the Subaru was stopping on a low traction surface. So what I would do is I'd get the car up to about 40 miles an hour, say, watch this, take my hands off the wheel, slam on brakes. The Subaru would just slide in a nice straight path, and I always got a great reaction from that. Almost every customer wanted to try it for themselves. Once we got past that, we'd go back to the dealership, and you're on to step 5. Now, step 5, this is valid in all sales. It's called the trial close. The first time I heard trial close, I thought it had to do with the jury. Basically, the trial close is just a soft feeler question. You want to know where you're at in the process. Yay or nay? A good example of the trial close would be, Sally, when you were first here this morning, you told me you didn't feel safe in that Jeep Wrangler driving your kids to school. After driving this Outback, could you see yourself driving your kids to school with us?
I felt much safer.
And then you shake your head, yes, up and down. So the trial close, like I said, is just basically thumbs up, thumbs down. Hopefully you get a yes. If not, you got to back up a step because you're on the wrong vehicle. So once you get past the trial close, you're on to the trade evaluation. Now I know there's all kinds of software, KBP evaluations, trade-in marketplace, vAuto, VIN Solutions Market Pricing. Now those are all just tools to enhance the customer experience. And I want to go back to Henry's presentation yesterday. I found it very interesting that Seguchi Honda left their customer out of this process. They left him inside the dealership. I was trained to involve your customer in this part of the process. And one of the most interesting things about it is just the psychology part of this step. Now you have your basic trade-in form, fill out the mileage, the vehicle identification number, color, transmission, just the clerical stuff. The psychology factor is the silent walk around. You take your customer all the way around their vehicle, stick your finger in every little nook, cranny, be quiet. People like to talk. They would instantly start devaluing the trade in their mind. They would tell you why they didn't fix this, why they didn't fix that. So that's an important step in putting together your car deal. Now after the trade evaluation, you're onto the write-up. And this too is just a clerical part of the step of the process, filling out your worksheet, name, number, address, email capture hopefully. And if they're financing, this is a good time to get the credit application going as well. Step number 8, negotiate. Now every dealership handles this step of the process differently. One price store like Suzuki Honda would still have this part of the process where they're negotiating on the trade difference, the monthly payment, the interest rate. So I could go on and on about the negotiation, and that could be a whole separate presentation in itself. One thing I've learned in SLP that is pretty obvious, but it was a good reminder, Chick taught us the key to any successful negotiating is to make the customer feel like they want it. So hopefully, by this point, if you completed negotiating, you have a car deal. Don't screw it up. On to step 9, TO to finance. Now the TO is not a receiver that used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. The TO is turnover. All the turnover to finances is just a soft handoff to the finance manager. It's very important in the sales process to let your customer know where you're at in the process. They feel more comfortable. They're scared of the unknown. You're also setting up the finance manager to sell his product. So a good turnover would be Sally. This is Mr. Jones, our finance manager. He's going to do the final paperwork with you. And he's going to discuss our extended service contracts we offer. Now once you get them in the box, and for those of you that don't know what the box is, another car term for the finance office. When they're in the box, this is where you're going to make your final preparations for step 10, delivery. Now while they're doing their paperwork, you're gassing up the car, doing the final detail, making sure everything's right. Then you're going to get the page. James Campbell, showroom floor, for a new car delivery. That's a great feeling, by the way. It's the final step. Greet your customers, congratulate them. You're going to do a service walkthrough. If it's not a Saturday and service is there, you're going to introduce them to the service manager. Take them to their car. Make sure they're completely comfortable before they leave the lot. They know how to use every button, CD player, radio. And then once they're over the curb, busting bugs, you have a deal. Now, I know I went through these steps in chronological order, and I made it sound very, very easy. It's never that easy. The important part of the steps is not that you go step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The important part is that you complete each step. Not every customer wants to start 1, 2, 3. You might have a credit challenge customer that's been turned down everywhere, and they want to go right into the write-up to see if they can get financing. If you can finance that customer, guess what? You're back to step 3, select vehicle. Some customers are hell-bent on what they're getting for their trade, and that's all they care about, so you might go into step 6, the trade evaluation first. The other caveat is you're going to get stuck in the steps. So you have the TO to your sales manager as well. That's your wild card chip. You want to make it through all the steps, but when you're stuck, you have to 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 the finance manager to get you to the next step. Now, recapping, these steps were valid in 2002. They're valid in 2013. They were here before I was born, and they're going to be here long after I'm gone. In closing, I'd like to read you a quote. ABC. Not the ABC that Chick taught us this week, not the ABC from Glengarry Glen Ross, but ABC. Always be closing. That doesn't mean you're always closing the deal, but it does mean that you need to be always closing on the next step in the process.